Welcome, welcome. Come on in. You don't want to miss this one. It's going to be filled with information and something that we all can learn from. So we take a breath without thinking. But do you know which part of your brain is responsible for breathing? Do you know what the brain looks like? The brain is very important to our daily function and existence. It weighs about 3 pounds and comprises of 40% water, protein, carbohydrates, and salts. The brain is responsible for emotion, speech, breathing, hunger, temperature, smell, and receiving and interpreting information. It stores memories, it controls movement. The brain connects to the spinal cord, both making up the central nervous system. So today I have a model of the brain here for you to see. The color of the brain is tan. This model is has different colors highlighted just so that we can see the different areas of the brain. Okay? And if you look closely, you'll see that it has all these different indentations in it. And it looks like a walnut with grooves and crevices. These folds are here to enhance the surface area and cognitive ability of the brain. Imagine if we ironed out all these folds, then the brain, it just wouldn't fit in our skull. So these are important. But instead of it being neatly packed, the ridges and folds, so the hills, the little top parts, called gyrus, and the grooves are called sulcus, so like you dip into the valley, right? The brain is made up of the cerebrum, the cerebellum, and the brainstem. The cerebrum is the largest part of the brain. It consists of left and right hemispheres. The function of the cerebrum is to interpret sight, sound, and touch. It regulates emotions and reasoning and learning. It makes up about 80% of the brain because it's the largest part of the brain. The cerebellum, about the size of a fist, is at the back of the head and it looks like 2 bells. The cerebellum is responsible for balance, posture, coordination, fine motor skills like buttoning your shirt and tying your shoelaces. The brainstem is like a stalk at the bottom of the brain because it sits like this, and it connects the brain to the spinal cord. This is part of the central nervous system, and the function of the brainstem is to control heart rate, breathing, sleeping and wake cycles, and it's also responsible for swallowing. All right? So we have the cerebrum, the cerebellum, and the brainstem. Now we go into the lobes. This part is called the frontal lobe. It's the largest part of the brain, and it's involved in personality characteristics, decision-making, and voluntary movement. It also helps with recognition of smell, speech, and intellect. Okay? There's an area in the frontal part of the lobe. It's called the Broca's area, and it is also on the left side. It's responsible for producing speech. So if you can't speak, then you know something is wrong with this area. Okay? This is when you have difficulty talking, like you just can't talk. Think of someone who maybe had a stroke. The parietal lobe, this purple area in here, is at the center of the brain. It receives and interprets signals from other parts of the brain, and it integrates sensory input so that you can understand your environment, your body. It interprets pain and touch. It gives meaning to what is happening in the environment, in other words. Then we have the temporal lobe, which is this yellow part over here. The temporal lobe is responsible for short-term and long-term memory, and it's used to recall words or places where you have been, recognize people, and understand language and interpret emotions. In this area, there's an area called Wernicke's, and it is kind of like right around here. And that is an area that helps you to understand words. So this temporal part of the brain is also responsible for musical rhythm. So if you don't have any rhythm, take it up with your temporal lobe. Occipital lobe is at the back part of the brain, and it helps to notice and interpret visual information, shapes, and colors. This is the occipital lobe. So do you remember the parts of the brain? Before you go, let's see if you can recall any of these areas that we kind of mentioned. Type your answers in the comment section below. If you learned something from this video, give a thumbs up. Type one area of the brain in the comment section. We will be back in another video to show you what the inner part of the brain looks like. So, what is this part called? From here, go all the way back. This, number 2, and number 3. Okay, this lobe, this is the front. What is this called in here? This lobe, and then we have here, and then here. So you will know how you did. You can assess or rewind the video and go back and see if you got most of those sections correct. However, if you did make a great attempt, congrats. We'll learn some more in the next video, and I will see you back very soon as we take a look on the inside of the brain to see what that looks like. So see you soon.